Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We are Sunny and Shay, and welcome to a new series of podcasts where we explore the workings inside one of our much loved Gurdwaras. We are here today at the Gurdwara Sri Guru Singh Sabha Southall. It's very well established within the community and of course globally as well. And we're joined today with Jagdish and Gursimran. Firstly, Gursimran, do you mind just telling us who you are and what you do here?
Yes, so I'm Gursimran Singh Bajar. I'm one of the Sevadars here at Sri Guru Singh Sabha Southall.
And Jagdish yourself?
I'm Jagdish Gaur and I'm the Joint General Secretary.
When we look at the Gurdwara and what it provides for our communities, a lot of people say that they don't feel welcomed or they don't feel, I'm going to straight get in there, that this is a safe space for us anymore. Those statements, what do they, if you hear these statements on social media and if you hear these statements from the Sangat from outside, how does that make you guys feel for the job that you're in? I'll start with yourself, Jagdish.
That makes me really sad because this space should be welcoming for everyone. Everyone is welcome here. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you do, what you look like, you should be welcomed into this space. And it just inspires me to want to continue to make that space more available for everyone.
And are the Satsanga forthcoming in some of the criticisms that they feel or, let you know so that you can make those effective changes? Or is there a sort of a disconnect there?
There is probably a bit of a disconnect in that the people that are most vocal probably don't represent the masses, and I think that you find that everywhere. Mm-hmm. We do try and create methods and ways for people to be able to share their views. So I'm hoping that there is a way for them to share that, and as we have done over the last 3 years, as and when there are things that are raised, we do try and react to them. We do try and create services, spaces, or whatever they need based off of that feedback.
So a lot of the work that you all do here, especially within the committee, is very much via Seva. And for some people, that all come from family history, being brought to the Gurdwara every single day, every single week. And that's an inherited love. For others, life can change. And I know for yourself, Gursimran, you're a new dad.
Yep.
Congratulations. Has that aspect of your life, becoming a father, has that spurred you on to want to do more within the community and fundamentally within the Gurdwara?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been one of the fundamental reasons to want to stand in the upcoming elections. So we've had conversations in recent years on different aspects of Seva, getting involved with the tech and marketing and all sorts, and working alongside Jagdish, Harmeet, and the rest of the committee. And when the conversations came up about elections, at first I was apprehensive, as one would be, because of all the misconceptions and how we've seen things over the years. But then when I took a moment to sit back and actually look, the work that we've been doing over the past few years has been alongside the youth, the younger generation, these people who are British born, people who are educated and they look like me and speak like me, right? And I had to ask myself the question, and when I look at the little one, I look at her and think, look, if not us, if not now, then who will it be and when will it be, right? Because if I don't make the right decisions now, in 3 years' time, I may not have the opportunity, or the situation may be different where, whether it's second, third kid or whatever else happens in life, I may not have the opportunity to be involved in the same seva. So looking at her, looking at my family situation and how my parents have brought us to the same Gurdwara as far as I can remember when I was a kid, we've been doing seva here. So it only felt right that when the opportunity presented itself and I had to work alongside my peers here, that we made the decision to come forward.
Gursimran, is there enough time for any committee who takes that responsibility to run the Gurdwara? Is 3 years enough time, or should that be extended to a longer period so that you can make effective change, which will then cement, into the normality of running a Gurdwara? Let me give you an example. I came to this Gurdwara when it was one level. And when I used to go to Langar Hall, my feet used to get wet because it is always water running. And I used to remember coming to the Langar Hall and thinking, always my feet get wet. I don't know how to do it. So from that time to now, I know that I can come to Gurdwara, go to the Guru Granth Sahib, matha tek ke, get my prasad, and I can sit there for a bit, but I can go and have food. Given I was going to get food, I was going to have a Guruji there, and I'm also going to get some sweet, a porg, right? That is trenched in all Gurdwara. That is just the basics that we can expect when we go to a Gurdwara, right?
Yeah.
So when you're trying to implement other things around the Gurdwara, like weddings, what is the rites of passage and Amrit, and all of those kind of things that you're doing that are to do with people who are, looking for the spiritual side of it, that's all taken care of because it's been established within law. But when it comes down to the simple things like sanitary, security, when you're looking at, what the Gurdwara is going to invest in, building walls, do you have enough time in those 3 years to implement these kind of changes where everyone gets used to that before another committee comes in and says, okay, they put that, mat on the floor, they change the carpet, we're going to change it back to the same other color and spend all the money on changing carpets?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think if we look at in terms of the current politics as well, in the UK, a similar thing happens where a new government comes in and things get undone, which is unfortunate. And that does happen even in the committees here and around. But some of the things to think about is when these changes get implemented, when we're thinking about the Anand College, the course, for example, and all of these other things around safeguarding, sanitary, some of these things, they're not really essentially done behind closed doors. A lot of it is done with Sangat consultation. So it has the people are on board with that from the get-go, whether it is people who are likely to come in the next elections and change things. A lot of these things are for the good, for the Sangat, for the people. So they aren't generally things that we worry about or anyone should be worrying about that would get changed, because it just doesn't make sense. Everybody wants them, everybody needs them, and Sangat have come together to make that decision for these changes. And yeah, something like a mat change or certain policy changes may happen. Every committee, whoever comes into power, has that right to do so. But when we move forward with Sangat consultation, when we do things that the Sangat want and need, there isn't really a worry on what happens in those 3 to 5 years when the next committee comes in. Because these aren't changes we implement just to work within those 3 years. They generally come with a longer term plan. That's where having the people like ourselves who have sort of worked within organizations that have 5, 10, 15-year plans, we're not just thinking about what are we doing that are going to affect up until the next election, but how can we ensure that these changes that are implemented now stay on, and the next people who come on continue those changes and continue to develop on those, rather than just undo it for themselves.
What's your perspective on that, Judith?
So I was just going to add to that, actually. So I agree with everything. So 3 years to run a country, surely we can do it in a Gurdwara space in 3 years.
Isn't it 4 years?
Well, 4 years. Yes, correct. But essentially what we've been doing the last term is trying to build a strategy. So we've got a longer term plan so that we're not just focusing on the 3 years. We do have long-term thinking so that we're moving in the right direction, as opposed to thinking we're only responsible for this 3 year period and that's it. We're trying to build something here, as opposed to we are just thinking about this short term. There's a push and pull. You have to think about, you're here right now, what can you do in the time frame that you have? However, if we're all aiming to move in the right direction, the idea is that whoever comes in next is still pushing towards that same goal.
Can I ask you, Jagdish, how many people are standing for the elections? Individually, from both sides, how many people are actually looking for a vote? Two parties
with 21 people standing for each of the parties.
So that's 21 trustees in each committee.
Wouldn't you say that for a Gurdwara this size, is that reasonable or is that too much? Just so that you can get work done faster. More people in the pot, the longer it takes to ask, should we put a handle on or not? There's 20 different opinions, or 40, should I say.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the number has gone up over the years. I think many years ago it was much lower. And I think personally, from my own experience, potentially it could be seen as too much, because as you're saying, too many people making one decision. However, what we also have tried to do is give individual people responsibility for various different portfolios or functions, so that they've got specific responsibility for that. Potentially, is it too many? I think that's definitely a discussion worth considering.
What do you think?
I think part of it is to think of the institution we have here. So if we think at generally Gurdwara, it's a single building in a small village or in a small area. Whereas SGSSSouthall, it's 2 large institutions. We've got Park Avenue Gurdwara, and we've got Havelock Road Gurdwara or Guru Nanak Road Gurdwara. And then on top of that, we also have Norwood Hall. Yeah. So these are 3, that's why when we say the largest institution, we think of the 3 different the buildings there. So there's a lot more to manage if we think about the physical space, as well as the number of people that are served here as well. We have tens of thousands of people coming here every week. around 4.5 million, 5 million a year. So to manage that kind of stuff, 4 or 5 people just can't do it.
And the services we provide as well are quite extensive. So again, if you're doing a comparison to maybe a smaller Gurdwara or institution, the number of services will not be as what we provide, just because of the fact that we have a need or requirement for those. So we're trying to stretch ourselves in all these different directions as well.
So oftentimes when we will speak to people who they would consider themselves of their faith, so they identify as being Sikh, however they are not Amritdhari, and their perception, outwardly perception of a Gurdwara is they'll come if it's a wedding, perhaps if it's a birthday, or when they have to attend a funeral. Those tend to be the three main elements, rites of passage for, let's say, Sikhs who are not practicing on a daily basis. And their perception has been, over the decades, is that you walk into a Gurdwara, usually you're met with an elderly gentleman who's managing everything, speaks the language that you do not speak, which fundamentally being in England is English. And there seems to be quite a disconnect between third and fourth generation Sikhs living here in, let's say, West London, comparatively to those elders that are much well respected within the community, have done so much for the development of the Banth, but they perhaps don't understand that connection of what the younger generation is looking towards. Just wonder what your thoughts are on that, Jagdish.
I think that's a really important point, and I think it is there is a bit of a clash at times, understandably, because you have those that have been in the spaces, that have run the spaces and have understood it and experienced it in a completely different way. Then, as you say, yes, we're the younger generation, we've got entirely different experiences. Our needs and our wants are different too. Our situations in life are different as well, and so there needs to be, I believe, a compromise between the kind of the needs of what the Sangat is saying. So one of the things I've been talking about as well over the last few years is the fact that we need to understand what our Sangat looks like, what is the demographic, what are their living situations, what are their circumstances, so that we can provide for that. So I think we do need to continue to move, because if we're not then fulfilling what our Sangat needs, then what's the point?
So the reason I asked that question is we know that the numbers, and this is not just for the Sikh faith, I think that's really important to say, religious institutions across the country are seeing decreasing numbers in attendance across the board. You can talk about various religions, and that's actually just happening. Part of that could be a lifestyle change. Perhaps people are not going to these institutions, but if we focus on Sikhi, we know that numbers are decreasing, whereby newer, younger generations are not coming to the Gurdwara, let's say in the masses and numbers that they once did in the 80s and the 90s. Is that an element of concern, Mr. Simran?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, and there definitely is concern to that. I think part of it is to try and dissect what it is. So for me and some of the conversation we have is to understand that some of them are psychological and emotional factors. So as you mentioned, it's not just a Sikh issue, it's a religious issue. Because what happens is, whether it's a religious institution, a place, or even just going to a restaurant, you have a bad experience, you won't go again.
Yeah.
Someone treats you a certain way, or you feel a certain way, and you now make a decision to boycott the place, the person, or overall just never go, right? And I think those similar things have happened in the past, where somebody may have come for an event, or just on a Sunday, and they've been treated unfairly, they've been spoken to in a certain way, or they've seen something they don't like. And naturally, we then paint the whole Gurdwara, the whole committee, or even just the religion as, well, they are the sort of the protector of the faith. So all Sikhs are like that, all Gurdwara are like that, or all committee are like that. And I think that's just a human thing we do. I've got a couple of restaurants I'd love to go to because of this. The service is amazing. I also have a couple where I was accidentally given meat, and I'm just never going to go there again, as much as I love the other food. So I think that's happened. It's happened to us all, right? We can all think of a scenario where we felt a certain way and we've decided to stay away. And I think that's where what we've been trying to do, and personally I've been involved in as well, is to try and helped people understand that those misconceptions aren't always true, and we are now in the process of trying to help fix these issues and bring change, which helps the larger people.
So,
To add to
please
that,
carry on.
yeah, and we have been trying to engage youth, for example, more by catering to them. So one thing is we know that young parents obviously want to come to the Gurdwara, but might not necessarily feel that there is something for their kids to do. So we've got a children's library. We make sure we're now running kids classes. So we've got little cubs for toddlers to come. We've got lecture series for those that are interested in having conversational discussion in English and in Punjabi. So the thing is, we are trying to cater to those changing needs as well.
I'm going to come back to what I was just going to say on what you said, Gursimran. But because of you just talking about the changes when it comes down to children, I think I want to bring in something that's very important to Shay and to myself, because when Shay got pregnant, we wanted to come to the Gurdwara. We came, and this is where Goodi's letter came out, and it was Tata, and so we called it Tyler. And as a result, we really had a lot of engagement with the Gurdwara. We came here on a weekly basis, and we did our parts for her first birthday, and I think a fourth birthday here, fifth birthday here as well. But there's an element of that. But I want to say that something that prevented us, me and Shay, from coming here was a sanitary side of it. It's the simplest thing, but it's a basic sanitary for Shay to, number one, change Goody. Number two, also to breastfeed Goody.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that Shay's always mentioned to me when we go to the Gurdwara, pads and just the state of these kind of, spaces where it should be clean more than anywhere else in the Gurdwara is the most unsanitary place that you can enter into. Is there an element of, cleanliness and also providing these kind of services to women and certain men as well who come from work and they want to just freshen up, making these spaces a bit more, I guess, hygienic, not only for the Sangat but also for the people who work here. I'm not saying this is a female issue. I think this is a issue for everyone who uses the toilets and also these spaces where they want to bring their children, and also for women who want to come here but sometimes they just think, you know what, I don't really want to go into that. I'm going to go home and go to the toilet. Even some men feel the same way. And I'm not saying your toilet's like that bad.
No.
Please don't think that I'm saying your toilet. But there is this element of there's something missing.
I cannot agree more with you. I think that's because I've got two very young children as well, and I have had similar experiences wherever I've been in these spaces. I'm going to pull up this. We are trying.
Yeah.
There's some refurbishment work that we have been trying to.
So booklet that you're flicking through a booklet right now.
Yes.
And you can pick this up from the Gurdwara?
You can, yes.
Okay.
And so we've had people, designers, interior designers come in to look at how we can improve the spaces and how we can change them. And I'm just going to pull up one page, which is this here, which is baby changing and feeding. Wow. So that's exactly what we are exploring, because we feel the same way. Because I've seen people come for functions and they don't know what to do, and I direct them to I'll find a separate space for them, take them upstairs. But there isn't always someone available to be able to do that. So of course we should have these spaces. These are the initiatives we're trying to. Yeah, you can find it online on the website as well.
What's the website?
SGSSSouthall.
Thank you. Yeah. If you want to have a look at that, guys, please go onto the website and then see what the referral images are.
Yeah, it's an interesting point though, isn't it? Because in terms of essentially what we're talking about is a Gurdwara providing more services than what we discussed earlier, than people who've only engaged with the Gurdwara, that is when it's a birthday, when it's a wedding, and oftentimes you'll come to the Gurdwara and you're just told, okay, it's going to cost £600 or £700, you make the payment, and then that's it. You have your particular prayers or part, and then you go. But what you're referencing, Rajabdesh, is more of a holistic approach. It's almost seeing this Gurdwara or Gurdwaras in general as community spaces that, whether you are coming individually, with family or with friends, that there are facilities there for you because you're going to be here longer than just an hour. Is that what you're referencing?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And that's what we're trying to do, to bring people into the space, because as you say, lifestyles are changing, and so what can we do to make sure that we are fulfilling the needs of what these lifestyle changes are leading to? So yeah, like you're saying, facilities is a big thing. Services is another thing. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just redirecting them to spaces, it's just knowing that you can come to the Gurdwara and anything you need, you can either get information on or some sort of help for.
Can I just quickly on that services, and Shay, you alluded to, getting part and how much it costs and whatever.
Yeah.
There's one element of that is that who's in charge of that? Because I know that someone's trying to do a part right now because someone passed away. Phone call came into the Gurdwara, and somebody answered the phone. I can't say who it was. I don't know who it was. And it was told, Hanji, don't worry, apa shuru kar dene hai, and it's going to cost you this much. Okay, brilliant. That's all set. Hanji, I'll put it down. 2 weeks later, same phone call just to reiterate that this is what we're doing. Oh, there's nothing written down. We don't know who it is. So is that element of we're ready to pay whatever you need to do, but there's this disconnect between who's in charge of what function when. I mean, there's 2 weddings at the downstairs. I mean, if I spoke to any one of those family members, would they have the same experience that I've just explained to you, that they knew exactly who they spoke to and there's one person who was taking care of that wedding? Or was it like 4 different people that they had to go through to make sure it was done properly without any extra additional headache on top of that? You're smiling right now.
No, it's interesting to hear the experience. Yeah. I'm hoping that that's quite an exception.
I hope so.
Yeah, and we are trying to make.
But there is this element of not one person in charge of events, isn't it? I mean, there is more than one person who will take that phone call and not reiterate what.
Well, we do have staff teams. So
Right.
we have an operations manager who is in charge of all staff.
Right.
Staff is then split up into different teams or groups depending on what they're doing. So you've got cleaning staff, you've got reception / kind of admin staff, then you've got langar staff, then you've got the granthi staff as well. So it is split. It's an organizational structure where there are reporting lines. There is oversight over what the work that is being done. So in an instance like that, obviously, because this sort of thing could happen in any organization.
Of course it could.
So, and there are routes to escalate, to make a complaint, because things like that shouldn't be happening. I haven't heard of it being a regular occurrence, and the experiences I have heard of it is streamlined. Obviously, there are improvements that can be made, and obviously we will continue to push on that. But it should be centralised. There should be a proper way of it all being done. And from what I understand, there are systems, but there are ways of introducing technology, hopefully, to help improve that. Yeah. So there's definitely Gurdwara's been working on enhancing and improving the systems to make them not only more technology friendly and forward thinking, but to also minimize the kind of human intervention. And
on that point, I'm going to go to you, Simran. There's a technical aspect to that, which not everyone has the technical expertise to run these apps. Is there a budget for someone to run those and employ someone to do that element of it? Because right now, if you take that to the committee, you'll be like, it's just a computer, put it on. I use WhatsApp all the time. It's not as simple as that, right? So there has to be a budget for these kind of things to be put into place and someone to run them, because it's not like even what we're doing right now. This is your equipment. This is run by a Sevadar who's going to edit this. That in itself is a job that pays very well if you're not doing it for free right now. Do you get where I'm coming from? So there's certain elements I think need to be valued just as the same as someone building a wall. Even though the wall you can see, these behind the scenes things should be valued just as much to get the best services for the Gurdwara, in turn benefiting the Satsang.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a working from the tech side, specifically to answer your question. So there are tender processes that we have within the Gurdwara. If we want to buy something, if we want to pull out a service, to go through that process. But yeah, there are budgets for tech. We've spent different budgets on different things. So as Jagdish mentioned, so with the current booking system, there is an online booking system as well, which we're slowly progressing to. It has its own issues as well, because some of the staff, they've been working here for a number of years and they've worked with pen and paper and a diary. So even though we've trained them up, it does take time to progress to work towards that. But as it stands, we are in a position where if you asked us, are you available on this date, we could pull our phones out and check the online diary.
Brilliant.
So we are working towards that. So there are systems that we've paid for.
Modernising, which is, I think, what a lot of people really want. But if we were to focus on one of the key debates around Gurdwaras and, some of those rites of passages that we mentioned, it's got to do with costs. A lot of people think that Gurdwara are run in terms of the business, in terms of the cost of how much a part is going to be versus how much wedding is going to be versus how much a forg is. Can there ever be a time, do you think, Gurdwara, where there'll be more transparency around why something costs how much it does for the South Sangat to understand, sometimes they just feel like, well, I'm just paying into this, huge pot, and I don't know what it's going towards.
Yeah, definitely. I think from the transparency perspective, so at the moment you can look online, you look on the boards downstairs, there's transparency for every month up until for the last 10 years, everything's all online. The report that Jagdish has got as well will show you where everything is gone. So how much is made, where it's spent, why it's spent. And then the treasurer is also available as well every week. Upstairs there's further details as well if people want to go into it. So in terms of financial transparency, it's been there. We have the past 10 years of records that are all able to look at.
The monthly accounts are put up on the notice board.
Yeah, so everything you can see every month, what's happened in the previous month will always be there, maybe here, or even at the other Gurdwara as well.
So you say that you made a point earlier on that more than 1 million people might be coming through these doors over the last 3 years or even the last year.
Yeah.
If everyone came and gave £1, so that's like £1 million.
Yeah.
Just on the just donations.
Yes.
all that is accounted for.
Yeah. So you can see here, it's
No,
over 4 million.
So it says just here, it says cash basis for 6 months ending 30th June 2024. Income, that's 2.154,853,000. And then it's broken down into bank fees, cleaning, development, Khalsa School, London, Gurdwara, and then all of that's accounted for. Again, just go onto the website for that. What's the feedback been from South Sangat being able to just see
in black and white or in blue and white?
I was actually just on a phone call to someone yesterday, and they were like, it's really good what you're doing. Because what happens is there's the misconception, or there's those viral videos that go around saying, oh, there's no transparency, they're taking up all the money, they're putting it in their pockets. It's like, well, if people really believe there's a crime happening, if people really feel that the Gurdwara is being mismanaged, or there's charity problem, or log those complaints, do the investigations, but no one's doing that.
Right.
In turn, the Gurdwara, Harmeet, Jagdish, they've done their own internal investigations. They've hired people, and there are 100-page documents talking about where the money's gone, what's been happening.
Right.
So there are already internal investigation happening. They've put themselves to scrutiny, gone to the Charities Commission and even independent auditors and saying, we want you to come and audit us.
Well, we have an annual financial audit anyway that we have to do.
Yeah, so there are so many.
Is it frustrating then? Because if you guys are saying,
It's
it's like the perception for most people who don't come to Gurdwara on a regular basis is that every couple of years there's a massive ruckus. Oh, the elections are here, and you'll see the viral
They didn't
videos,
spend their money properly.
people screaming that this didn't work,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's a bit of a ruckus, if you want to call it that. Not inside the Gurdwara, but definitely outside. You've seen the videos, and then there's other people saying, no, everything's corrupt. They're just making their money. And fundamentally, like both of you have talked about, everyone does this as a seva, no one's getting paid. You're trying to be as transparent, and I should say you are as transparent as you possibly can be with your monthly reports, along with quarterly reports and annual reports around the, ingoings and outgoings. So is it frustrating?
Yeah, I think overall it is. I think just for example, like the in Park Avenue Gurdwara, the Gyani Dit Singh Hall. So that was recently refurbished.
Yeah.
Now it's open as a space where all the funerals happen, whereas it was in a small room, which you probably remember. Now it's a separate room. It's bigger space. There's a lot more respect with everything that goes on. But not just that, it's actually a multifunctional purpose room. So there's classes that happen in there. There's lectures that happen in there. There's self-defense classes as well, weddings as well. So if we want people to have langar and stuff, everything's possible there. But what happens is, whether it's people involved or not involved, if people don't agree with it, they'll end up saying, why did they spend 40 grand there? Why did they spend 100 grand there? And then you will hear the word 100 grand, and then you're going to tell someone else, and then it becomes Chinese whispers, oh, they spent 100 grand on a building. So the numbers are already there, right? Everything's all logged, and it clearly knows what the exact numbers are, but these rumors will go around. And I think Jagdish will have more.
Before you just make a point on that, I just want to say that then there was a podcast recently, I won't say which podcast, but they went across the whole of the United Kingdom and said how much a wedding cost in Birmingham, how much it cost in London, how much it cost in Manchester. I think the most expensive one was Manchester, £5,000 for a wedding, I think it was. And I don't have an issue with Gurdwara charging £5,000 for a wedding, right? Because if you're going to spend 20 grand on just photographs and parties and tour players, this is the most sacred part. This is when you get married. I'd rather give that money here at the Gurdwara, and that's just my thoughts. But everyone's different, right? So why is there such a discrepancy across the country with different costs for different Gurdwara? A smaller Gurdwara charges more than you guys do.
Yeah. So I think it depends on the institution as a whole, right? So if you look at the Gurdwara here, with the number of people that come through, the amount of donations, standing orders. the Gurdwara doesn't need to rely on that. In respect to where smaller Gurdwara, they don't have the same footfall. There's just a few hundred families that go there regularly. So when it comes to charging for an Anand Karaj or any kind of part, some of them rely more on that as an income. So that's where the numbers go up. And if you look at the facilities here, if you look at the space, at how many people there are, you think about just the cost of living is going up. And we forget that the Gurdwara still has to pay its bills, right? The utilities and the gas and everything, all of those go up as well. So essentially everyone's home bills have doubled, or so is the Gurdwara. And that discrepancy is a lot more. So to cover all of those basic costs, from the moment you come in to book, so you have the admin team, all the way through to the Anand Karaj course that happens, and then the actual on the day itself with the security guards and the food and everything that comes part of it, there's a larger cost. And if we were to do a real comparison, not that it is necessary, but the costs that are here are comparatively lower, and they could be higher.
Yeah.
If you were to compare it to actually what other people are charging, as you say, in the tens of closer to 5,000. So it is reasonable for what the Gurdwara facilities provide, as well as the bills that are required as well.
If someone came here and said, I really, really want to conduct a funeral or a wedding, whatever it may be, but I can't afford what you are asking of me, what happens then?
Well, there's been instances just recently as well, that families have come forward or the Gurdwara themselves have said, we will pay for it.
Wow.
So it's, I think just in the last few weeks that the Gurdwara didn't just pay for the funeral, but actually putting the family up as well. So there's been certain instances where there's people who aren't local, or whether it's the breadwinner has passed away, and then the partner and the kids have been put up in accommodation as well. So it's all on a case-by-case basis, right? You can't really put out to saying we will give out free events because everybody was going to ask for one.
And I think fundamentally, this is an organisation. It does need to be run well. It does need to be, bills need to be paid, etc., etc. But we still run off the values that we believe in, and so compassion is one of those. So we need to bring that in everything that we do. So it's not just a black and white, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. We need to reevaluate and think about everything we do. And very quickly to the point we talked about with finances, and it's incredibly frustrating just because of the fact that I think I probably was on the other side of it. When I didn't know the details, I used to think the same. Oh yeah, committee members probably are corrupt. That is a lot of money. I don't understand where it goes. But then when you're in the day-to-day detail of it and you see the conversations and you see what needs to be done, you see the necessity of it.
Yeah.
So for those that think that when there is mismanagement, if you look at the detail, if you have the conversations, get involved, then you can for yourself see what goes on.
There.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it hard for you guys to run the Gurdwara when social media has taken such a prominent role in sharing stories, not just about Gurdwara, but of Sikhi itself, and certain voices are getting more traction? Obviously, friction obviously gets more. We see in social media, anything that's controversial, it will get higher than anything good that you guys do. So is that made it harder for you to, number one, practice the religion, and number two, keep Gurdwara safe spaces without people coming through those doors and saying this is what Gurdwara should be and this is how it should be, because certain people from the front think that you're not doing a good job and they don't want to go through the election. They just want to turn up and make it difficult they don't want to make it difficult. They want to make sure that you're doing it right according to what they believe and how these institutions should be run.
I'm going to pass that to you.
Yeah. I think that's one of the problems, as great as social media can be, is it gives people that false pedestal that I'm going to make a video, I'm going to put it online, I'm going to get some views, or if you don't do this and stuff.
Yeah.
And on the other side, that videos have gone viral, and then people ask questions and say, look, what's going on? Whether it's at this Gurdwara or other Gurdwara, saying, what are you going to do about it? And there needs to be that balance of sometimes you do react and respond, and some things are just, things are going to happen. People are always going to complain. People are always going to be upset about something, and they're going to sort of make a mountain out of a molehill, and they'll expand something that isn't actually true. So it's about understanding how much effort we put into combating these things, and how much is it just, you just live and let live.
We've got this, there's one video, I don't watch these videos that often, but when they do come up and they stay on your feed, and especially if it's in the environment that I live in.
Yeah.
There was a video about a Gurdwara within Hounslow that went quite viral because of someone wearing something.
Okay.
And the individual who runs this so-called information channel of his came into the Gurdwara,
Yeah.
where he confronted some of the Panth who were there, and they were not equipped for that conversation. I don't think they were prepared for him to come in, question that, because I don't think he went through the right channels for him to have that conversation. How can you safeguard, number one, those individuals who are in charge of the Gurdwara at that time? Because you're not here all the time. Not everyone's here. There might be such an uncle who said, right. And he's confronted by these individuals where he's not equipped to answer those questions.
Yeah.
Or he might say something that might take away from what you guys are doing. So how can you safeguard these individuals when these kind of attacks, and I call them attacks because they should go through the right procedure through the committee and have these conversations that this happened, what you're going to do about it in an environment.
But to add to that,
Yeah.
also, the Gurdwara should fundamentally be a safe space of sanctuary for anyone. And if you're just here in the Gurdwara doing your Simran and listening to Kirtan, and then you hear
This
fundamentally shouting, screaming in a space where that's not what we do, it can be so upsetting and for some people even triggering.
Yeah.
So how do we ensure, the sanctity of the Gurdwara when you do have these type of individuals who think, well, no, it's my Gurdwara, so I can come in and scream and
Whenever
shout
I
and say
want, yeah.
you're wrong.
Yeah, I think part of it is all safeguarding, isn't it? So and training. So yeah, you're right. Not every staff member or every security guard
Yeah.
and every
I
team
actually
member
felt
can be
sorry
available.
for the uncle who had to
Yeah.
confront him because half the time he was trying to work out what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. And he just kept bombarding him. And then the lady was like, oh, from Canada. Oh, not it. And I was like, dude, why are you not shouting?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he was just making the point that this is how this Gurdwara is run and this is why the committee is not. And it was just like, all right, you have all these criticisms, but this is clearly the wrong person you're speaking to.
Yeah.
And I just felt it was unfair, number one, for uncle who was there, and number two, he had valid questions. I'm not taking away from what he was suggesting, but it's just approaching the wrong way. But then safeguarding, listen, your voice is important to us because you're part of the Sangat, but this is not the way to do it. How can you sort of like give them that space to talk to you and also at the same time safeguard the people who are effectively representatives of the Gurdwara
Of course, yeah.
at that time?
So we have been trying to create spaces. So, for example, we run a monthly Sangat forum where people can come and share frustrations or
Monthly Sangat forum.
Yes.
For anyone.
Anyone to come.
regardless if you are Amritari or Munna
it doesn't matter who you are.
Okay.
So you can come to the space and have a conversation with one or a few of the committee members, whoever is in attendance that month.
Okay.
And you can share any frustrations, share concerns, share ideas. But that's just one of many channels. There's suggestion boxes. There are online forms on the website. There are so many ways that you can have those conversations. I understand in this example that you've given, that the individual was probably very frustrated, so that happens, but that's okay. We're here to have conversations. We're here to help and to make the space available to everyone, but I think more so to those that are vulnerable and are in need of these spaces.
Yeah.
So I think that distinction should also be.
Okay, there's so much to unpack and we haven't got time, but there's two fundamental questions that we did want to discuss with you, because one of them I've alluded to, so I suspect you know where I'm going. It seems to be at the moment that there's a real disconnect within third generation, fourth generation British Sikhs who identify as such, but they are perhaps not, initiated, so they're not Amritdadis, so some people define them as Munna Sikhs, and I appreciate some people be offended by that, so they don't like that term. They just see themselves as Sikhs. Is there, from the experiences that you have with a Gurdwara of this size and this established within West London, is there a divide between, Amritdadi Sikhs and Sikhs who are, let's say, born into the faith, but perhaps they have uncut hair? And if so, what is the Gurdwara doing to engage conversations between those, communities? Because fundamentally, we know the large proportion of the Sikh community in the UK is not Amritdadi.
Yeah, I think, so it's unfortunate, but that is the truth. There is a divide. Coming from a background of, I didn't grow up in Sikhi, I didn't always look like this. So over recent
You say
years,
look like this, you want to...
as in, wearing
had
the
cut hair?
star. No, as in, so I had long hair,
Okay.
but I had a patka and stuff.
Okay.
But coming in and wearing the star and being Amritdadi only happened in recent years. So most of my friends aren't into Sikhi in the same way. I have a lot more friends who are non-Amritdhari, then Amritdhari. So I understand the question you're saying and the divide that there is, sort of behaving a certain way in one group to another, as we all do. And yeah, that's part of the reasons why people like us, we're involved in the Gurdwara, and I've seen it myself. So working alongside Jagdish, Harmeet, Ganavir, and all the others as well, we've been given that freedom within reason to go off and take lead, take ownership of the various tasks and responsibilities around the Gurdwara, and the elders have provided that support. So where outside there's that negative perception of the uncles run it and they're just there for the seat and whatnot, it's been further from the truth here. Where
just on that point, a couple of years ago, there was elections here at this Gurdwara, and some of my family members got involved, but they didn't run for elections, but they were rallying the troops.
Okay.
People who don't come to the Gurdwara that often told their sons to, "Aaj election aa, jaake vote karke aagi." Never came to the Gurdwara for 2-4 years, but they got all their family to come to vote for this one particular person.
Yeah.
So when you see people who aren't using these spaces, right, on a regular basis, coming and changing the status quo because uncle knows this uncle and they got a big family, they know these, they got a big influence, and sending people to the Gurdwara to vote when they don't actually, they're like, "Oh, yeah, Dad told me to come and vote, I'm just voting." "Who are you voting for?" "Oh, he told me to vote for this Jagdish." You know what I mean? And so I voted for the Jagdish. Or they told me to vote for Simran, right? Okay, so that's fine. This part. So how do you curtail this kind of organization where it is it happens everywhere, right? I mean, it's politics.
Yeah.
But how do you curtail those individuals who come and make changes in this Gurdwara through their votes, which is just because they rallied their friends and support from outside the Gurdwara
So that's
in that way?
So that's a constitutional issue, if
Okay.
you like to call it. So the way it works is to be a member of the Gurdwara, there's a criteria.
Yes.
And only those who are then members can then go ahead and vote when it comes
I
for the
didn't know
election.
that. Okay.
So
This
it's
has
not
changed recently?
No, it's always been the case. So not everybody, not any Sikh or anyone who believes to be a Sikh or believes
So
to
I
be,
can't come and vote?
if you don't live in the local area within the local 4 boroughs,
Yeah.
and you
don't have membership.
and you don't have membership,
So how's a member? I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
So please explain this because
Yeah.
because I'm way out, right?
Yeah.
So
So
explain to me, sir. I
generally
come to this
speaking-
Gurdwara for the last 50 years of my life.
Yes.
Didn't know I had to be a member of it. I thought I was already because my name is Gurdwara. So that didn't get me through the door. So
it's not a birthright.
It's not a birthright. I know that, but I just thought, oh, hey, this is my ass. Anyway, so if you wanted to vote in these elections, I think this is a good time to ask this question.
So
what do you do?
the elections before the elections happen, there's a membership window. It's about 6 to 7 weeks where everybody can come in. So you have to be of the local boroughs.
Yeah.
So that's the Hounslow, Hillingdon, Harrow, and Ealing boroughs.
Yeah.
So you have to be a permanent resident.
They were that.
So some people try and come and they're on student visa or they're on work visa. So anyone who's not a permanent resident and doesn't have permanent nationality here won't be eligible.
Wow.
So that's the current constitution. There are sort of conversations out there that people are saying they want that changed, which is all fair. That's a constitutional change that can be put through. And then you have to have single core in your name. So that's something that came only in the last decade or so. Whereas before it was anyone who believed they follow the Sikh faith, you can come. So if you're a follower of the Sikh faith and you follow Guru Granth Sahib and the Sikh Gurus only, you're a Sikh, you can be a member. That's recently changed to you have to have single core in your name.
Right.
But as with some people, they don't have that. So as long as one of your parents has single core, or if you have a partner who has single core, that can be a sort of a declaration you can put through.
Okay.
And you just come in, you show your documents, you get membership ID. There are two types of memberships. You've got the ordinary membership, which is £5, and
I have £5 a year?
just £5, and that covers a 3-year term.
For 3 years.
For 3 years, so you pay £5,
Okay.
and it covers for the 3 years, which is essentially for that current election window.
Right, okay.
Then the alternative option is life membership, which in itself is for life, no matter what change happens, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and that's £101. So both are payable. That's for life. That doesn't matter.
But that's free for 65 and above as
Yes.
well.
I've got 15 years left. So yeah, I just do it now, right? Yes.
So we do have some people argue the fact that okay, people have life membership but they're in Canada. It's like, well,
Okay.
you are technically, yeah. So as per the constitution, so we can have our opinions on the constitution, which is fair. But as the constitution lies, is that if you made your membership on this term and then you decided to move out the borough or even out the country, and you still have that valid membership where you could come during election time and vote, because people have that love for this institution. As you said, we all grew up in this area.
And also families quite literally have invested sweat, blood and tears.
Yes, exactly.
And so to then say because your postcode has changed, you can no longer contribute in the future on an institution that your family gave so much for. It seems a little bit absurd, I would say, to some people at least. Just coming back to the final question, because unfortunately time's against us.
45 minutes, didn't realise.
But I would really like, Jagdish, for you to also answer that question that I think is fundamentally core, coming back full circle to when we were talking about engaging with seats and bringing those number of, the communities back into the Gurdwara itself. They may well feel connected to the faith, but not the Gurdwara. That can be seen as two separate things to some people. What is going on inside the Gurdwara in terms of dealing with or, trying to bring cohesion between Amritdhari Sikhs and those that are not Amritdhari Sikhs, because there is clearly a divide, as Gursimran was alluding to earlier.
I think that's work that needs to be done, continues to be done. There may be the perception of divide, and I think in some instances, yes, there is. But I think it's not as stark as perhaps we're painting the picture. For example, the fact that the committee it's not a requirement to be Amritdhari Sikh to join the committee. So we're already trying to make it clear that the committee represents the Sangat. So we have the differences within the committee itself as well. So it's work that needs to be done, that will continue to be done, and I think it's an ongoing thing, and it's not specific to our community.
So also on that point you just made, we have how many Gurdwara within Hounslow and Southall that aren't just run by you guys, and some of those Gurdwara cater to that trail of thought, right? This is not my Gurdwara because they're not catering to this, what I believe in, and this is the way a Gurdwara should be run. And we've seen more of those Gurdwara, getting the support and the funding and, being established. Doesn't that just take away from the message of unity when we can't cater for everyone in the same space? Where are we lacking in that sort of connection?
I think part of it is the misconception between the culture and religion. As you say, there are Gurdwara out there that they do stick to a certain way. People feel connected towards the culture and the way they do things and certain traditions. But you're definitely right. There are institutions out there who are doing great jobs, and we should all be working together. If there are great things that the Gurdwara is doing here, they should be working with other Gurdwara, and there should be that conversation and where everyone's working together and finding that we all have our own challenges, but if something's working somewhere, we should try and adopt that and work towards a better future, because we are as a Khalsa Panth, right? We may be catering to the local Sangat here and someone in the Midlands is doing it there, and Dubai being the way they are, but we all work towards the same Guru. We all pray to the same place, and we all have the same end goal. It's just we're in different localities. So
and we are demonstrating that. So things like the library, we also have a garden project. All of these things, other Gurdwara have reached out to try and emulate the blueprints because they like them or they think it's a good initiative. And we've been so happy to share it. And that's also why we do these reports that we do, so that other Gurdwara, other people can pick it up and see what we're doing. And where they find value in it, they can easily do the same. And we've always been, like Camberley Gurdwara opened recently. They reached out for policies, procedures. We were so happy to share what we had and to continue conversations to help facilitate other spaces.
And that space needed a Gurdwara, as opposed to we didn't. I don't say anyway it doesn't need a Gurdwara, but if there's one about 5 minutes down the road, you know what I mean? That's when I sort of question, like, could that money be spent within the diaspora more effectively by supporting the Gurdwara and the community and making those spaces within already established places? I appreciate you guys are letting us have these conversations with you. Some of these are difficult questions and you've answered them brilliantly, because I'm smiling and I don't feel that you're reading from a script. You really are just sitting there and talking to us. I love it. Guys, I wish we could carry on. We were supposed to be here for half an hour. It's been an hour. Thank you so much. It's been such a joy knowing that the Gurdwara is doing so much great work. and 3 years, the elections are happening this month. And if everyone wants to register, like you said, where did they go to register if it's too late now to register?
Yes, unfortunately, registration closed a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
So now the registration are up, and it's now campaigning up until August.
So can I still be a lifetime member today or not?
No, you'd have to wait for the next window to open up in 3 years.
You missed it.
No, hold on, but can't I just be a member of the Gurdwara for...
You can be a Sangat member, yes.
No, but the lifetime membership, I have to wait for 3 years before...
As it stands, so
Yeah.
according to the constitution, that opens up just before the elections.
Fair enough. And then after the election.
But yeah, so there are conversations. Constitutions can be changed. AGMs come together. If the Sangat people like yourself say, look, we need this
I didn't know
regularly.
that was a thing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. I was in it 50 years. I'm older than you guys.
Yeah.
I came to this Gurdwara when I was born, and even then I thought, oh yeah, I'm part of the clan, but I wasn't.
So that means you've never been to a general body meeting, yeah?
I've never been to one meeting.
You wouldn't be allowed in.
No, I wouldn't be allowed in. You're not here. Get out. Thank you so much, guys. It's been
Thank
so
you,
much fun.
Jagdish and Simon. Thank you for your time today. And if you would like more details with regards to the work and all of the various reports that both Simon and Jagdish have mentioned in terms of refurbishment work, general body meeting reports, the state of the Sabah report, as well as others, then you can go online to the website. So the website is of SGSSS.org, and that's SGSSS.org.